Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Shadowverse Evolve official page. I'm Ignideus, and with me is my fellow Shadowverse Evolve English Edition ambassador, Red Zone Rogue. Say hi.
Hello. How's it going?
Yeah, this is a very exciting video because today we're going to be helping you preparation tips for the upcoming Grand Showdown. It's a way to qualify for the World's Finals that alongside Bushido Championship Series. And it's actually the culmination of the first Showdown series happening in Los Angeles on September 21st at the Hyatt Regency at Los Angeles International Airport. So yeah, it's a very big event, like the first huge competitive event in North America for this season of Shadowverse Evolve. And Kel, as I understand it, there's some very exciting prizes on the line too.
Yes, there's a lot to be excited for. as Igni said, this is also an open invite tournament, the first big open invite tournament for Shadowverse Evolve English, and so because of that, we have some very, very cool reasons for all of y'all to come out and make it to the event. Once again, open invite, so everyone is welcome. We have prizes ranging from participation all the way to final cut. So participation pricing includes a Fashionista Nelcha promo card, which is has this beautiful alternate art, pretty good card there for Forestcraft. Top 32, you start getting additional prizing with a Blazing Breath hot stamped promo card, which looks absolutely incredible, and that is just a staple card for any Dragoncraft player. Top 16 is when things start to really spice up with a alternate art Gilnalese top 16 playmat that looks absolutely incredible. If you couldn't tell, I love the art across the board here.
We all do.
Yeah. And then top 8, you get a promo card for Gilnalese of the same art that was from the playmat. This one also is hot stamped for the specific Grand Showdown event, specifically for the Grand Showdown Los Angeles 2024. And then top 8, everyone gets 1 copy of that promo. Top 4, everyone gets 2 copies of that promo. And then the top 3, or the champion gets 3 copies of the promo. But not only that, the top 3 players will also receive an unsponsored invite to the Bushido Championship Series 2024-2025 World Finals in Japan, it says. So that is very, very exciting.
Yeah, and not only that, but the hot stamp color is actually different between Grand Showdown events. So this first one happening in Los Angeles is going to have the silver color, but upcoming in the future, there's going to be a Grand Showdown in Singapore, and that one has a red color. So if you want the silver color, you're going to have to attend Grand Showdown in Los Angeles. So it's very, very exclusive.
Yeah, it looks so good. And that hot stamp applies to both Gilnalese and also the top 32 Blazing Breath promo, which is really sweet.
That Blazing Breath is absolutely gorgeous as a dragon main. Man, just to let everybody know, me and Red Zone Rogue, Kel, are actually casting this event, and looking at these hot stamps, I'm like, man, maybe I should have been playing instead, honestly.
Right. Dude, the Gilnalese top 16 playmat looks so good. Like, I want it so bad. It looks so good.
But we're going to be behind the desk casting you, hopefully, once you make it to the event, and maybe you can win those prizes in our stead. It's going to be a best-of-1 tournament. The preliminaries are Swiss. It's an individual tournament as well. And the top 8 is single elimination best-of-1. So best of luck to everybody, and we are here to talk about what we think you can do to best prepare. So the tournament is going to be in the Booster Pack 6 format. That's Paragons of the Coliseum, which as of recording this has just come out, basically. So very exciting stuff. First of all, we have some generic tips from both me and Kel on what you should do to prepare. My first tip, obviously, is to participate in as many stored events as you can. It's one of the best places to practice. It's one of the best places to disseminate and share ideas with your fellow players. Of course, once you get to a larger event, you're going to see a wider breadth of like what the field is capable of. But even still, going to your local store and getting all the ideas you can from everybody alongside you and practicing with them is like one of the best ways you can improve at any card game. So Shadowverse Evolve is no different in that sense.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. I agree with that. Also helps support the LGS and, helps further the Shadowverse Evolve scene at, your local scene. So that's definitely the best thing you can do. I also wanted to mention that the upcoming meta is really, really awesome. It's like very varied and pretty open. And there are several decks that some players might be bringing from the previous Omen's Eternal meta, such as Fabled Haven, or even like an upgraded version of Disdain Dragon. And those players, will have, played their decks through and through, and might want to instead focus on, instead of piloting their deck, instead focus on playing against all of the brand new decks that are going to be coming out, such as one of the new monsters, Kuon, which is one of the very, very powerful Runecraft decks of the upcoming format. So, depending on where you are in your Shadowverse Evolve career, you can either, focus on playing your shiny brand new deck, or perfecting something that you've already been playing for a little while. It's all it's all going to be tailored to where you are and what your experience is.
I would say also, if you have a lot of experience playing against those set 5 and previous decks, well, then you have less decks that you have to scramble to prepare for now, because you already have the matchup experience against those. So all your experience from set 5 and before is still going to carry forward, because a lot of those decks just got a few new tools and are heading into this new tournament, but still play pretty much the same. So hopefully you guys got a lot of practice in the last set. I hope you did. It was a great set, by the way. Omen's Eternal, one fantastic set. So
it was.
Use that experience and take it with you into this tournament as well, and then spend your time preparing against the new stuff, like Kel said. So Kel, you mentioned just a little bit there some of the decks you were expecting. I thought what way we could do this is that you just fire off like the decks that you have your eyes on, and then I'll react to what you're saying. So, because I know that you had like a comprehensive list that you sent me earlier, and I'm like, yeah, pretty much he's hit the nail on the head here. So I'll let you take it away.
Yeah, I've been really, really diving into Paragons of the Colosseum. It's an absolutely awesome set.
It's a heater.
And
it's a heater.
It is. It's actually just so good. It is the perfect time to jump into Shadowverse Evolve, or maybe get back into it, or maybe if you're already playing it, it's just more of excellent stuff. So every single craft gets like meaningful support in Paragons of the Colosseum. So no matter what craft you're into, you're going to find something great in this set, and either upgrading a pre-existing deck, or maybe piloting a brand new archetype. And so with that said, I gotta mention the Kuon in the room.
Oh yes.
And that is Rune is finally like the big dog, and Kuon is like the deck to beat. Kuon is insanely powerful. It uses D shift to take extra turns, and to just kind of like basically control the game, and to the point where you can just kill your opponent with Kuon and some extra turns. And it's the deck you should be paying attention to the most, whether you're piloting it or whether you're going to be playing against it, I think.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely 100% correct. Yeah, Kuon is the person on the box, and 100% is what a lot of players have their eye on to beat. That being said, I think that because it has such a huge target on it, players will be very much preparing against it as well, which, can be a disadvantage sometimes if you're, the one that everybody has their eyes on.
Yeah. And with that said, it's not the only super powerful deck, which is why this format is so good. There's a ton of really, really strong decks, and Forest continues to be one of them. Previously, we had the Elephant Storm Forest, and now we have a Fairy Forest. So I know there are fans out there who just really want the Fairy Pixie archetype to be very powerful, and with Paragons of the Colosseum, it is very, very powerful. It's this kind of deck where it's like I'd call it like an aggro combo deck, where you basically assemble a whole bunch of your pixies in your EX area, you give them buffs, you give them storm, and you just kind of like aggro out your opponent with this like burst damage. And it is like a legit deck, and definitely should be feared going into this meta as well.
I mean, I'm pretty excited for this one, because Amataz from the digital game plays very, very similarly to the same vibe as Fairy Forest does in this upcoming set. So it's both completely fresh and also very nostalgic for me at the same time, which I find very novel as a feeling.
Yeah. Actually, a small anecdote. I actually played that deck a little bit in digital. It's one of the only Forestcraft decks that I played in digital Shadowverse. So I'm actually kind of looking forward to both this Fairy Forest deck and also trying out the Hunter archetype for myself. I'm looking forward to that for sure. And then we have one of my personal favorite crafts in the entire game. We have Abyss, and Abyss has two really powerful decks in this meta. We have Sanguine Abyss and the more controlling Silence Abyss, and they're both very, very strong. And the control Silence Abyss with Ginsetsu Great Fox is what I'm personally looking forward to playing the most. It has some of like the cards that I just like the most in Shadowverse Evolve, like your Dark Angel Olivia's. But if you are a fan of Abyss just in general, you have two very strong and distinct decks that you can choose from that are very, very much capable of winning.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like you said, the Gensetsu is fantastic support for the more controlling decks, but Sanguine Abyss gets a huge boon in the form of Aragavi and Anslo Pelt Warrior as well, which is just like massive, massive new tools for that aggressive game plan. So both are definitely ones you should keep an eye on. I'm the opposite. I'm more of a fan of Sanguine Abyss, so I'm definitely looking out to get those Aragavis into my possession as soon as possible.
Yeah, big fan of both. I will literally be building both of those decks.
Right.
Argavi's like he's a monster.
Absolute
He's so good.
beast. Yeah.
And then we have Haven, and Haven is another craft that has like a ton of different options to choose from. The kind of go-to is Fabled Haven, or as some people like to call it, Egg Haven. And it doesn't get too many new additions with this set, but it continues to be incredibly powerful. And it's one of those decks where if you already have your Fabled Haven, if you already have your Egg Haven, I think it's a very, very valid and powerful pick going into the Grand Showdown, because it's still super, super strong, and you kind of have that upside, like I mentioned before. If you've already been piloting it, you have all of that baked in experience. Whereas some of these other decks like Kuon, people don't have as much time to, pilot the deck before going into the event. So Egg Haven, Fable Haven is very powerful, but you also have other options too. I was calling it Deus Ex Machina Haven or Karula Haven. You can even call it like Aegis or something like that. Aegis. That's one I'm most looking forward to playing. I really love this play style of these cards giving you like these play points back, either at the end of your turn or during your opponent's turn, and making use of them. And Karula is kind of like the new card that really vitalizes it. And there's some other really sweet stuff like the boost kicker card, where you can pump resources into it to wipe your opponent's board. So Haven's got a lot going for it in this set. And once again, similarly to Abyss, I think it has multiple decks that you should be paying attention to, especially the Egg Haven. Don't underestimate the Egg Haven.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we saw what havoc it wrecked in the past two sets just with one or two new cards. And as recently as just like a few weeks ago in Indonesia, my local scene, Egg Haven won like a big presented by Psy Games event as well. So it's like, okay, eggs all the way down. Let's go.
Yeah, it's so good. Every time I've had Egg Haven featured on my YouTube channel, Red Zone Rogue, for gameplay, it is, spoilers, it's won every single time. So it's, whether I'm piloting it, whether my guest is piloting it, it always just ends up winning. It's so good. So Egg Haven, it's great. And then we also have we have Swordcraft. And I was just going to say Thief Sword, which is another deck from Omen's Eternal. You have your Usurpation Sword. Everyone just calls it Thief Sword. That deck does get some really, really sweet upgrades in Paragons of the Colosseum. You have Ralmia and you have Kagamitsu, and I think they can both fit into that kind of archetype, which is kind of like this really interesting pseudo mid-range archetype that could pivot into aggro depending on its matchup. If it's playing against something like Sanguine Abyss, then it could pivot into like hyper aggro and just kind of burn them down before they can really do anything, which I think is just this really cool part of the Thief Sword. But it can also like excel late game with the effects that let you kind of like take use of your opponent's resources with Octress, for example. So I don't know. I think it's a really cool deck. I think it's a really what's the right way to put it? It's a very like jack of all kind of deck, which I think is really, really sweet. So I think I'm definitely looking forward to that too.
That's a fair assessment of it, yeah. Especially because it has so many ways to like toolbox in different packages to make it work for them. Like I've seen like the Thief Hero hybrid. I've seen everybody's still playing Gemstaff Commander to pull out a Leonidas or whatever they want. So it does make sense that it's definitely a deck for people who like options in their gameplay. So
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Sword is just so good at that. There's so many ways to just go search for stuff. I've even seen some of the lists for the upcoming meta running Maid Leader again, just to be able to go and search for specific cards. So yeah, it's pretty sweet. And then we have kind of Igni's signature class here with Dragon. And Dragoncraft is another one of those crafts that basically just upgrades from where it previously was. And that, of course, is the Disdain Dragon. And, it gets a really, really powerful new legendary with Phylene and really comes into its own in this set and becomes an absolute powerhouse. Where if you were kind of sleeping on it a little bit before, I think you should really, really pay attention to it now because, like, Phylene is real, and she's just a one drop and does so much. I know you probably have a lot to say about this particular deck, Igni.
I mean, for me, I tested a lot of Disdain Dragon in set 5, and it's a fun deck, but I felt like it was always missing, like, something. And then when, Booster Pack 6 came out, and I saw the effect of Phylene, and I was like, oh, that's it. That's what it was missing. So,
yeah.
You slot that in, and suddenly it just feels like exponentially better to play, for sure. Not only is it an early game drop, it's a way to control the board. It's like deck filtering as well. It just does everything you'd want it to do in a deck like Disdain Dragon. And it works with PDK too if you're that kind of, flavor of person. Yeah. Like, there's so much you could do with it.
I am. My Disdain Dragon list also runs PDK, so
yeah, absolutely.
I'm all about that.
And because it's like, it does change a lot with the addition of Phylene, but it changes for the better. So if you have experience playing Disdain Dragon in the previous set, like, you're good to go. Just pop it in, and you're gonna feel like you upgraded from like a tricycle to a revving motorcycle. Is all I'm
right. Right.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Well, those are the decks that we laid out. Well, I say we. Cal laid them out, and I was like, yeah, I agree. So I guess at the end here, we'll talk about what our personal recommendations are. I think, definitely the one that everybody's got their eye on is, Kuon, for sure.
Yeah. As we mentioned at the start, like, Kuon is like the boogeyman of the format. It's the deck to beat. It's the deck. If you're not playing it, you should have a game plan at least for Kuon, like 100%.
Yeah, they're just such a powerful card. Even though it seems like they're so heavy, it costs 15. And it gets down pretty fast because it has like that the card has a upgraded version of Spell Chain basically where it also counts on Myoji. So it's like, okay, This cost goes down real quick. And it's quite satisfying to play for a cheap cost as well. So yeah, it's just a deck that is good and feels good. So that's definitely like the top pick, I would say, from both of us. But what about like a secondary rogue?
Ooh,
a red rogue, zone rogue, perhaps.
Right, yeah, exactly. The deck that I'm looking forward to playing the most, and I kind of mentioned this a little bit while we were talking about it, is Control Abyss. Ginsetsu Great Fox is just an awesome card. I think she might be my favorite card from the set. And the deck just runs some of my favorites. It runs Dark Angel Olivia. It's the kind of deck where you have this, like, I call it like the full control package, right? You control the board, you control your opponent's hand, and then you control the game. And that's what the deck does, and I'm really, really looking forward to it. I also love the aesthetic of Abyss. It's probably close to my favorite. It's really hard to pick in Shadowverse Evolve, but that's the one that I'm looking forward to playing the most, and I think the controlling nature of it can lend itself pretty well into slower decks like Kuon, and yeah, that's my personal pick. How about you?
Nice. I mean, I kind of have to stay on brand here. And I'm going to go ahead and say that you guys should bring Disdain Dragon. Because I think with Phylene, it gets really, really good. I think the addition of Phylene should not be understated whatsoever. I mean, Phylene is good pretty much in perpetuity for Dragoncraft from this point onwards. At least to the current, up till, as far as I can tell, there's always builds that can make use of Phylene. So I'm gonna say bring that, and it has like the potential for so much burn. You can tailor it in such a way because you're ramping, and you could go late or you could go like super rush in the beginning as well. It feels like a deck that's quite modal, and just the pinging yourself to to deal damage or to activate another effect is very, very interesting gameplay to me. And sometimes can catch your opponent off guard when they, use a quick on your Galmu and you're like, still does it.
Right, yeah. Galmu is just, she's so much value.
Mhm.
Like, I think you kind of hit the nail on the head. It's like modal. The deck can have like this crazy late game value, and also you can just play Forte and just kill him, right? You can just like Forte kill him. So
100%.
it's like, yeah, it's a scary deck for sure.
And it's a deck that filters relatively fast too, especially with the addition of Filey and getting the White Frost Whisper. That's a way to thin your deck. Then you have the Servant thinning your deck. You have the Apostle also with that crucial peak and get 2 omens, which is so good.
Yeah.
So yeah, I find it extremely satisfying to play, and for me, it was only missing that like last little bit of wood glue to stick the pieces together, and it finally got it in the form of this Dragonute girl.
Yeah, 100%. I'm not looking forward to playing against it because if people haven't seen before, I have battled against Igni on stream against it, and well, it didn't end so greatly for me. So yeah.
Yeah, it's a fun one. I think one last note you said was something about how if a player favors one craft.
Yeah, I've kind of mentioned this a little bit going into it, but if a player favors one craft over any other, I think this is a great format for that because every single craft has a deck that is powerful. So if you are like the kind of player who's like, I only really want to play Haven or I only want to play Forest, there's a very powerful deck for you, right? If you're just a Forest craft player, you're like, okay, I can play this Fairy Forest, or you can maybe even experiment a little and do something like with Hunter. If you're Abyss, you have a lot of options. Same is true for Sword. We didn't really go super deep into it, but I know that you have like your Thief Sword, but you can even still pivot into like a Heroic Sword. So like this is definitely a format where if you are the kind of player who gravitates towards one craft over another, you definitely have options, and it leaves it very open so you can, express the kind of player you are, which I think is just fantastic. I really do genuinely think this is one of like the best times to start playing or get back into Shadowverse Evolve just because of that. The meta is just so open. And we know a lot of this data from the previous Japanese meta, but I would say maybe don't take that 100% into account. You still definitely want to do your own testing for this, new English meta too, right? So you can kind of use that as a starting point, as kind of like your jump off point, and then just go from there, which I think is this advantage that we have going into this particular meta.
Oh, for sure. I know very, very many players who have innovated in ways I could not even conceive from what you would expect from the previous data we already have, especially in terms of like player expression and skill expression. That exploration is such an important facet of that, and like people finding like new technologies to outwit the entire field has always been an important part of Shadowverse Evolve. We've seen it in pretty much every major competition in this game so far, including the World Championships that happened in February. So,
yep.
I would say that definitely, it's really important to, take this video as consideration, but not as hard and fast rules of, I'm definitely going to see these, and I'm definitely not going to see anything else, because, yeah, players are more clever, and, collectively, maybe the smartest thing on Earth. So, you definitely gotta get in there and get the hours in for sure.
I want to see some sweet rogue decks out there. I want to see someone roll up with Rune, but not Kuon. They have their Mysteria Rune deck or something. Ooh. I want to see something out there, something crazy like that.
Rose
I know
Queen,
I'll be personally like, I know there's some Rose Queen fans out there, so like, yeah, I think it could be cool. And like I said, I think the meta is open enough. There's a lot of experimentation to be had, and a lot of you can pick whatever archetype, whatever craft you want, and kind of go from there. So absolutely. I'm looking forward to it. It's gonna be sweet
for sure. And if you're also looking forward to it, thank you for watching this video. We really appreciate it, and we'll see you on September 21st for the Grand Showdown Los Angeles 2024. Once again, that's at the Hyatt Regency Los Angeles International Airport. Me and Kel will both be casting, and hopefully we'll be casting you winning that unsponsored invite and the sick hot stamped cards and stuff. So we definitely hope to cast your success. And hopefully this video has been helpful for you. But for now, that's going to be it from us. Thank you for tuning in to the official Shadowverse Evolve page, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
See you later.